Hello, good morning, everyone. You're welcome to Grief to Grace. So, today, you're welcome to Grief to Grace Stories, and I'm here, your host, Ruth Hepzibah, and I just want to welcome you specially to this first edition of our Grief to Grace podcast. How are you doing? I hope you're doing so great. Yes. So I want to say thank you. I want to thank you for always being there. I want to thank you for being so glued to Grief to Grace. And, the last time we were recounting, and it's been an awesome presence with you and in the presence of the Lord. And it's also been so great sharing our stories. And I can see how much it's helping out a lot of persons. I just want to say thank you. So, Grief to Grace is that platform where you need to be. I'm your host, Ruth Hepzibah, a grief coach and a fresh start advocate, committed to helping individuals transform from their own pains to their purpose, and also transform all of their own grief to grace. So, how are you today? Where are you at in your grief journey? Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank you specially. I want to thank you specially because if we don't have you, we have nothing, right? So we will not be here. We will not be sharing our stories because there'll be nobody to share with. And every day I keep saying that it is improving, it is increasing. Our viewers are really staying glued and we get a lot of interactions. And I just want to say thank you. So thank you because this year is going to be explosive and we're definitely going to have a lot going on with us in this platform. So we're going to be sharing more and more stories. We're going to be interacting and connecting more with you. So just stay glued. And if you need anything, like I'll always say, I'm just there. I'm your grief buddy and I will help you out in your journey. So, at Grief to Grace, our mission is to provide a safe place to explore, to navigate, and to heal from all of life's different losses. So, I know that here at Grief to Grace, we believe that grief is not the end, but it is a doorway to a fresh start. So, I always tell you, and I say it because I know that it is. A fresh start is always possible. So begin that journey today. So a journey of grace, a journey of growth, a journey of transformation is possible with you. All you just need is to say yes. And I'm ready to get started, and you will definitely get in there. So before I go into other stuff, we have a guest in the house, Ernest James, and he is here to share his story on how he survived his suicide ideation. And I know a lot of us are going through that. So many people are going through a lot, and the last resort for most people is to think of suicide. And today we have Ernest in the house who is going to share with us how and why we shouldn't do that. Okay? So today, at Grief to Grace, I will want to talk to you again about my book, A Pen That Writes Grief. This is one book that you need in this journey. This book is a labor of love. It is a labor of joy. It is something I put all my heart in to get it down and put all of the tools and interventions that you need in your journey. So we offering this to all of your readers so that you can use it to process your grief. Rewriting your stories, rewriting your grief, rewriting your journey is possible and it will help you rediscover your hope. It is a 60-day guide. It will guide you through. And by the end of this, If nothing happens, send me an invoice and I will refund your money. So you can get it at Amazon or you get it on our website, grief2graceinternational.org. So, where are you right now in your journey? Where are you in your journey? Like I said, we have a guest in the house, Ernest James. He is a family man. He is a minister. He is a mentor. He is a speaker and an advocate for healing and education. So he is so dedicated to spreading his message. And that message is a message of hope, healing, and transformation. His powerful journey of overcoming grief and suicide ideation is nothing short of inspiring. And I know that you want to hear that story and you want to hear how he was able to navigate this. Definitely, I'm going to bring him up right here on this platform very shortly. But before we do that, I want you to stay tuned to the end. I want you to send a message right now to your loved ones that need to be in this program. I need you to just share, and share. Keep sharing because you need to share and let them know that we are here. That's the only way you can help us in this program. If you share and you invite people to join us and listen and tell them there is a group called Grief to Grace and you need to listen to it. They have inspiring stories. More and more people will do that. And I really want to thank those of you that keep sharing. I want to say thank you too. So stay tuned to the end of this episode, I beg you, and you will really be glad you did. And for those that will be participating and sending in messages, as usual, I will send you a free gift. And this time around, I'm going to send you a free copy of this ebook, and you will be able to use it. And right now, we are studying this book every day on social media. We started today. So every day we are going to have it for 60 days. And in this 60 days journey, we'll be looking at it one day at a time. And I know that you don't want to miss out in it. Do you? No. So I want us to just bow our heads as we pray. Then I'll be bringing forth our guest. Heavenly Father, we come to you. We thank you. We bless your name. We're grateful for this new year. We're grateful that you brought us back into this year. And we are able to start off again on a very good note. Father, thank you for this first episode of Grief to Grace. And I just want to say thank you because you are the Lord who answered by fire. Answer these ones, O God, all their needs. Grant it unto them. Let this be a journey of transformation in their lives, turning all of their mourning into dancing and turning all of their ashes into beauty in this year 2025. Bless our guest Ernest and also all of those that will be listening today. And may these conversations that we're going to have today inspire hope and foster healing and also speak transformation in the lives of everyone that will be here in Jesus' name. Amen. So if you are just joining us, I am your host, Ruth Epsiba, and this is Grief to Grace Stories, and we have a guest in the house, and I'll be bringing him up right now. His name is James. Yes. So he is here.
Good
Thank you so
morning. Good
much for
morning.
joining us.
No problem. No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I know that God has been using you mightily. And today you will be an inspiration to our audience and everyone that will watch and seeing this. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. And like I said earlier, I have James in the house. Ernest James is a man on a mission from ministering to mentoring to podcasting to speaking. He is doing just so much. And he has a community too, which is the in Facebook, and he definitely, I know he will want to talk about that. And I would really encourage you all to join in that community if you truly need healing. So Ernest is dedicated, and he has dedicated his whole life, to uplifting other people. And his journey is a journey of resilience. He has been able to overcome grief, and he has been able to overcome the suicidal ideation to becoming a beacon of hope for all of y'all, and also for me and everyone in the world. And he is truly extraordinary. And Ernest believes that healing ourselves leads to healing our families. And there was one thing he told me the other day when we were together, and he said, the power of focus. What do you want to really, what are you focusing on? What do you need that will keep you right here and help you to keep moving? So he's definitely going to talk about all of that basically today. And I know that whatever kind of healing you need forgiveness. I know he has a lot of series on forgiveness. So there are just so much that you need. That's why you need to sit back and listen to him, because he believes that when we heal, we'll be able to heal our families, we'll be able to heal our community, we'll be able to heal our world. So join me today in welcoming the inspiring Ernest James to Grief to Grace. So how are you doing? I like asking that question because sometimes people take it for granted, but I don't take it for granted because not everyone is fine.
Yes, yes. I am well, Ruth. Thank you so very much for having me. And I appreciate that question, right? Because as someone who's dealt with suicidal ideation and depression and all of that, I know how important that question is, right? And not just asking how you doing, but then asking that follow-up question of how you really doing. Because most people, when you say how you doing, the first thing they're going to say is fine, I'm okay, everything's good. But it's like, no, because we often ask, you know what I mean, just like out of habit, just like, hey, how you doing today? And we sometimes never even wait to hear what the answer is. Then people take for granted when you ask them how they're doing, and they just think it's just a pleasantry, like, oh, how you doing?
That's
But when you
yeah,
really follow it up with that question of, no, how are you really doing? Like, I really want to know. I really want to know how you're doing emotionally. I really want to know how dealing with work, how you're dealing with school, how you're dealing with the family, like what's really going on. And what I found is a lot of times people are willing and ready to have that conversation. They really want someone to talk to. They really want someone to be like, look, this is really what I'm dealing with, instead of carrying that, by themselves. And so again, I definitely appreciate you asking, how I'm doing. And I think that's a practice that we all need to practice more, not just asking how we doing, but then follow it up with the question of how you really doing, to let that person know that, I really do want to know that you're okay.
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, because that's true. So I really am excited to with your whole journey, and I know a lot of people are really waiting, and they want to hear about your story and your journey. So the next voice you will be hearing will be the voice of Ernest, and he will be sharing his whole story, and he will share all and how you can reach him and how he can help you with you. But remember to stay till to the end, because I have a gift for you. So, Ernest, it's over to you.
All right. So again, let me say thank you for having me, Ruth. Thank you to everyone that's tuning in. I really appreciate you guys, coming and taking out this time in your day to have this conversation, or to even listen to this conversation and listen to my story, right? Because it is a story that, has some grief in it. And even from grief, even going to grace, right? From grief to grace, and even grief to triumph, because there are some triumphs that I've been able to hit along the way, that has even sometimes even came from the grief itself, So before I get into that, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I am Ernest James. I am a podcaster. I am a speaker. I am an author, amongst other things, right? And my mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. And that is my mission. And not only is that my missions for others, it's also the mission that I'm on myself. And so it's a mission that God gave me in the midst of my own journey of depression, in the midst of my own journey of grief, and that's how I kind of found my purpose. And so now my gift and my mission is to bring that same gift and purpose that God gave me in order to bring it to other people so that they can also grow in that way. So also we do have a community on Facebook, private community, the Deal, Heal, Fulfill community. Definitely invite all of you to join that. We have some amazing people a part of that community. We are a growing community. I think we're over 400 people now, and still growing every day. So definitely you guys can be a part of that community as well. I would love to have you. That being said, I'll start with my story a couple years ago, right? A couple years ago, I was married uh, to my wife at the time, a lovely family, my only daughter. My daughter was born. And, we're just living a good life at that time. In my early 20s, well, I'll say late 20s, got newly married. We started off to a good start, even financially, right? And now within our first 2 years of marriage, maybe 3 years of marriage, we already had bought our first house. We already had, I had a car. My wife had the car that she liked. I had a motorcycle. I had a truck. I work in construction, so I'm doing my construction work. Active at the church that I was in at that time, and really just living what I call the American dream, right? That whole American dream with the house and the cars and all of that together, and things was going well. But then, things start to kind of fall apart a little bit because I work in construction. When the economy goes down, the work goes down, right? And so when the economy starts slowing down, that slowed up the work for myself, and so we started having financial problems. And of course, as you know, with any couple, definitely in a marriage, financial problems affect your marriage. And so we started having, different little issues within the marriage too, because of the finances and because of other things on top of that. So now I'm dealing with going into debt because the work is not there. And now I'm dealing with having issues, with within my marriage. And it wasn't just the finances, there was some other things that began to come up that we were dealing with on top of that. And then we got a phone call. We got a phone call one day from my mother-in-law at the time. And my mother-in-law, her name was Chris. I was really close to Chris. We had a great relationship. And I joked that sometime that we had a better relationship than me and my wife did. We were really close, and we really, cared for each other. And so we got the phone call that Chris had gotten sick, and we ended up having to, to go to the hospital with her. And we found out that she had cancer. And not only did she have cancer, but it was already in the last stages. And so they had gave her a certain time period. They said, she would live to a certain time period, and she definitely lived way past that. By the grace of God, she actually lived, I think, like maybe 2 years longer than the time frame that they gave her. And but at some point it did get to the point where she did become very ill and end up passing away. And I remember that time because I was so close to her, and it got to the point where she had to be she had to be moved into hospice, and she was doing so well. And this was crazy too. She was doing so well that when we went to the hospice to check her in, when we all walked in, the people that was there was like, where's the patient? Because we all walked in. We didn't roll her in. She wasn't in a wheelchair. She was able to still walk and talk on her own and things of that nature. And so they was really surprised. I was like, most of the time when people come here, they come here, in a wheelchair, or they come here already on a bed, right? And they rolled in from the hospital, but she was able to walk in on her own, with her own strength. And so we came there, we took her to hospice, and I would go there, not every day, but almost every day. I would go to the hospice when I got off work, and I would sit with her and spend time with her, until it got to the point where she was unresponsive, and so I still would go and I would play music and I would just hold her hand and talk to her, not knowing if she could hear me or not, but spending that time with her. And I had to go out of town. I had to go out of town for a training, and I really didn't want to leave her because I knew it was getting close to the end. I really didn't want to leave, but I had to talk with my wife at the time, and it was like, you know, Chris was a kind of person that she was always like, take care of your business. Whatever it is that you need to do, when you have things to do, you need to take care of your business. And so we both came to the conclusion that she would want me to do what I needed to do. She would want me to take this training for my job in order to be able to support my family and things of that nature. And this will also kind of reflect back when I started talking about my mom too, because I didn't want to leave Chris. I wanted to be there, because I knew it was getting close to the end, and I was just like, I just want to be here for her until the end. But again, we had made that decision that, what, she would want me to handle my business. She would want me to go do what I needed to do. And so I left to go out of town. And when I got out of town, I told my instructor, I'm like, look, my mother-in-law is not doing well. um, I could get a phone call any day. And if I get that phone call, I got to go back home, And so we got that straight. And the first night when I made it, out of town, that night she ended up passing away. And so I had to come back. I had to come back home. And so we went through that. So again, I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with depression. I'm dealing with debt, going to debt because the economy has slowed down. I'm dealing with, I already had issues in my marriage. And then once Chris passed away, that really took a hit on my marriage because Chris, my wife at the time, was the only child. And Chris was her mom. And it was always just them two. So when Chris passed away, she began to change. She took it hard. And so that, of course, added again to more stress on the marriage until the point where we was like, all right, we might have to get divorced. And so dealing with all of that, at that time period. And then in that same time period, I get another phone call. And this time it's a phone call from my mother. And talking to my mother and found out that, she wasn't feeling well as well. And we end up having to take her to the hospital and found out that she had cancer as well. And so this whole process kind of started over, with helping my mom and with her health challenges. And unfortunately, my mom would pass away as well. So now I find myself, as I like to call it, living a D life, right? I'm in debt. I'm in depression. I'm dealing with divorce, going through a divorce. And then I'm dealing with the death of two women that I love dearly, my mother and my mother-in-law at that time. And so I really was just in a bad space, right? And I'm just like, man, I got all of these things going on. I can't change any of it, right? And this is one of the things I want us to recognize, is that sometimes when we're in the midst of our grief, we really feel like we're alone. We really feel like nobody understands what we're going through. And so I want to make sure that when we're in this space, that we are reaching out to people, right? We are reaching out to platforms. We are reaching out to people that we know. We are reaching out also to organizations that have already built themselves up to help and support us during this time period. Because that is one of the things that helped me after my mom passed. I ended up going to bereavement support, which I had never done before, and I went through bereavement support and became a part of this community of people who had also lost loved ones. And I realized that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one that was dealing with, these things. And so that kind of began my journey of kind of fighting my way back, right? And so recently this year, I had the opportunity to do a TEDx talk, to do my first TEDx talk. And what I called it was, they changed the name of it on the TEDx platform. But what I called it was having fun with suicidal ideations. And the fun is an acronym which stands for focus, unite, and normalize, right? And so I'll talk about that in a moment. But one of the things that I was doing, again, I was living this, what I found at that time, what I call the D life, dealing with all those things at the same time. And I got to the point where I started having suicidal ideations because I'm like, I'm dealing with this divorce, I'm in debt, I got all this stuff going on, and I can't control any of it. Right. And because I can't control it, I'm beginning to feel hopeless and helpless at the same time. And so I'm not knowing, like, what should I do? What can I do? And I thank God for putting the right people around me, right? Because I had friends and I had family members that actually reached out to me and physically came and got me, because I was in such a depression. I wasn't even leaving the house. I was in my room and I'm just like, closed off from everyone. And I had family members and loved ones that literally came and got me, like, oh no, we're going outside today. We're getting some fresh air. We're going to, like literally drag me back into life. You know what I'm saying? And so getting out, being able to, have people that look out for me, having people in my life that began to pull me out, that was one thing. And then of course, joining the bereavement group and taking that bereavement support group and being in a community of like-minded people that began to help me too. And so I began to work my way out of the depression that I was in and the suicidal ideation space that I was in. And so going back to the TEDx talk, what I called it again was having fun with suicidal ideation. And the word fun is an acronym that stands for focus, unite, and normalize. And so, number one, I had to focus. What I found was while I was in the midst of going through my depression and dealing with my grief, I was focusing so much on myself and what I couldn't control, right? And feeling helpless because of, like, I can't fix my marriage because now we're in a place where we're going through the divorce. I can't fix my debt because the economy has slowed down, so work has slowed down. So now I don't have the money to pay for everything to bring it back. I can't bring my mom back. I can't bring my mother-in-law back. So all of these things I could not control. And so because I couldn't control it, again, I would start to feel hopeless and helpless. But one of the things that I realized is I had to put my focus on something that I could control. And so I started to put my focus on my daughter. My daughter is my only child. And at that time, she probably was like 7 or 8 years old. Right. And so my thought was she had already lost both of her grandmothers. What would happen to her if she lost me too? Right. And so my thought was, let me take the focus on myself. Let me stop thinking so much about me and let me start thinking about her. Let me start focusing on her because if for no other reason I can stay here another day to make sure she's okay, then I have a purpose. And so that's where I started to put my focus on my daughter and making sure that she was, that I stayed here for her. And so I've had this conversation with therapists and with a therapist, and one of the things that they told me was, like, Ernest, we teach people to focus on themselves, right? So focus on themselves so that they can work through whatever it is that they need to work through, in order to get through out of this space. And so what I say is, I can't say they're right or wrong. I can only say what worked for me, right? So either way, all I know is you need to focus. So whether you have to focus on yourself in the meantime, or whether you have to focus on someone else in order to give yourself that strength to hang in there another day, whichever one you need to do, focus on that. My focus was for my daughter. And so I began to focus on her, and that gave me hope. That gave me light, because even if I couldn't change my day and make my day better, I knew I could make her day better. And so I began to focus on how can I, be there for her? How can I support her? And so that was the focus. Then the second thing was in the FUN acronym is the U, which stands for unite. So again, we talked about those family members that came and got me, right? Those family members that came and pulled me out, those family members that supported me, the loved ones that supported me was like, no, we know you're going through this, but we're here with you and we're going to help you move forward. So I had the support of my family. But then when I went and joined the bereavement support group, that became a whole nother support, because these were people that were dealing with the same thing that I was going through. We're dealing with the loss of losing loved ones. And but what I also realized that these people, some of them were going through situations that were a lot worse than mine, should I say. You know, I although I had lost my mother and my mother-in-law from sickness, there were people that was in this support group who had loved ones who had been murdered, you know, who had loved ones whose life was taken, you know, not by sickness, you know, but sometimes by circumstance. And I realized that there are so many people that were hurting, so many people that was going through losing loved ones for different reasons, and yet we're always in this same group. But we were able to support each other. We were able to listen to each other's stories, hear each other out, and even encourage each other during that time. And so I enjoyed it so much, and being in this support group, that I stayed there after my time was up, and I became a volunteer. And I volunteered for like a little bit over a year. But one of the things that touched me in the midst of that was I realized out of the whole year that I was there as a volunteer, we only had one African American family to come through that space while I was there. And I knew it wasn't because we weren't losing people. I knew it wasn't because we weren't dealing with grief, you know, and I knew that it wasn't because, you know, we weren't losing loved ones. Either we were just wasn't exposed to it, or for whatever reason we weren't accepting it. You know, we weren't accepting the help that was given. And so I ended up leaving the support group as a volunteer, but I started a nonprofit organization that I named after my mom and my mother-in-law. My mom's name was Ann. My mother-in-law name was Christine. And so I started the Ann Christine Charities. And what I did, I started having bereavement groups, started bringing bereavement support groups to our community. And I did that for a little while. You know, I did that for a while, just bringing it there. But that became that unity that I found in the support group really began to help me, because again, I was in a space of like-minded people who were dealing with the same thing I was dealing with. It was dealing with the grief that I was dealing with the loss that I was dealing with, and we were able to support each other. And so we got the F, which was focus. Again, putting the focus on my daughter, or put the focus on yourself, whatever you need to do. You got the U for unite. So you unite with your family, your loved ones that are there to support you, but also unite with like-minded people, people that are going through what you're going through. So support groups, you know, whether it be Facebook communities, you know, they're out here. People are out here that's going through the same thing you're going through, and you could be help to one another. So unite with those spaces as well. And the N of the FUN acronym stands for normalize. And what I found is this um, statement that I found in the midst of going through the bereavement support was your new normal, right? And so when we wake up in the morning after we've lost someone, things is definitely different. Like everything has changed. So it's not normal as it used to be, but it can still be normal. It's just a new normal. And we have to accept it as being our new normal. And so when we can accept that, like, this is where my life is now. So now when I wake up in the morning, I have to accept the fact that I can't call my mother-in-law. You know, now when I wake up in the morning, I have to accept the fact that I can't call my mom, you know, because they're no longer here. But yet at the same time, I still can have a normal life. I still can find joy in my everyday life. I still can find meaning and purpose in my everyday life. And again, it's not normal as it used to be, but now it's this new normal, and I just have to accept my new normal. And so again, that FUN acronym, FUN, stands for focus, unite, and normalize. And that was what I used in order to help me to get through my grief and to get through everything that I was dealing with at that time, my suicidal ideations, which brings me to what I do now. You know, coming out of that, I realized again, going through that with the families and the people that I ran into, and even dealing with in my profession, my daily profession as a in the construction industry, I realized that construction industry, we have a high rate of suicide in our industry. And but we don't talk about it. You know, it's a subject that we don't talk about. And I think it's mainly because we are a male dominated industry. And when men get amongst other men, we don't want to seem weak. right? Don't want to seem like we can't handle what it is that we're going through, and so we don't talk about it and we mask it and we put on this bravado, like, yeah, we got it all together and we're big strong men. But the truth of the matter is, men are hurting, right? Men are going through. We're dealing with divorce. We're dealing with losing parents. We're dealing with our everyday lives, but we don't have someone to talk to. And a lot of times we want to talk, but nobody is being able to break down that bravado and just be vulnerable. So I've taken it on as my mission to make sure that I'm very vocal about the things that I've been through. Because when when I'm able to open up and tell my story and be like, hey, I've been through a divorce. This is how it made me feel. I've been through losing, my parent. This is how it made me feel. I've been through dealing with, these things. This is how it made me feel. And when I'm able to open up and have those conversations freely, then it gives other men and other people permission for them to open up and have the conversations as well. And then once we begin to have those conversations, it's so liberating, right? And especially amongst men to be able to say, you know what, I'm dealing with that same thing. Let me tell you what I was dealing with, And so that's my mission now. Even with the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, I'm on like 170 something episodes now. I've been doing it for a while, but having amazing guests on to share their stories, right? And to share how they overcame in different areas of their lives, because I want to bring that to my audience. I want to bring that to the public, that we can learn from one another when we share our stories, when we share our triumphs, when we share how we overcame. Because if we can do it, then you can do it. Because we're all human. All have the same ability to push through and make it to the other side of whatever it is that we're facing. And so, yeah, I've been doing that now as a speaker, active in speaking to students, as a mentor, being able to mentor young men. Again, having the Deal to Heal podcast, and now even with the Deal Heal for People community, Facebook community, being able to have conversations with great community people who are part of our community, and just being able to support each other and uplift each other. That is my goal. That is my mission, and that's what I've been on, since the last couple of years. And I thank God for blessing me to be able to still be here and to be active and to share my story, to be a light to other people. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's
Yeah,
my
I can
story.
imagine. Yeah, that was really inspiring because everything you shared is really like, I know a lot of people are just there thinking, because mostly people don't know what people go through, especially the men. You
Mhm.
know, most people don't know what men go through, especially because they have a lot of burdens in their heart, and they are not born to share their experiences with anybody. They are taught to keep whatever and be a man. Even
Yeah,
as little
yeah.
as little children are, and because I have four boys. And I remember there was a time I was like, when after their dad, like 2 years after, and I'm like, if you need to cry, you just cry. And they said, Mom, you've always taught us not to cry. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I'm not sure there's any day I ever told them don't cry, but they just felt in their whole heart that I'm a man, I don't cry. So whatever it is, I need to keep it in. So even when they need to cry, they need to go hide somewhere and share those things. So I think that's really a great work you're doing right there. And I would really encourage everyone to join the Deal Heal and Fulfill group. That community is really good, like in Facebook. Like you have a lot of people sharing their stories and talking about issues, and that is great. And also, you can connect with Ernest James on his he will tell us how you can connect with him on his social media and his website and all of that, and support this mission and division, because it is really not easy to combine all of this stuff and do them, But most people may not understand how much it takes, but it has to do with the passion. It has to do with trying to have fulfillment in life. And
Mhm.
it's awesome. I just want to say thank you. And there was something you talked about, the um community, like those people who are where you work, the construction workers, and that is true. There are so much, a lot of people are going through, especially the grief. When I was working this morning on the grief on my book, I was talking, something came to me, and that was the grief at the workplace. You know, the grief at the workplace. Just so much. A lot of people are grieving their work, and they don't know who to talk to, and they cannot quit. You know, they're grieving just a lot. Maybe the bullying from there, or the fact that the money is not enough, or the fact that I'm working more than my bosses and I'm paid stipends, just so much. Or my family, they are not even appreciating what I'm doing. Just a lot that people are going through, or they are working and that's not really what they want to do, but they just have to do it because they need to survive. So it's good we reach out to our loved ones, especially in the office, and find out from them how are you doing, because you come to work the next day and they tell you the person is gone. Why?
Mhm.
I say, oh, what happened? He committed suicide. What happened? I thought he was living so good. He had a good life. No,
Mhm.
that's what you think, but that's
Yeah,
not what it is. So I think
yeah.
that's a great one there. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. I really appreciate what you're doing. So can you please let us know how people can reach you?
Yes, yes. And real quickly, I want to just share this because you mentioned about thinking that people are really doing well and they're feeling well, but not checking up. When I started my podcast and I started sharing about my story of dealing with suicidal ideation, I have 8 siblings. Right, it's 9 of us out together. I got 8 sisters and brothers, and my baby sister called me and she was like, "How did you go through all of that?" Especially to the point that you are thinking of taking your own life, and none of us know. Like it's 8 of us. How nobody know? And I've said because we're not having the conversations. We're not really checking up on each other. We ask how we doing, but we're not really asking the deeper questions. Like, no, really, how are we really doing? And so I encourage everybody to really, like I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, when you asked me how was I doing, and I appreciate that question because we got to get used to doing that. We got to really get used to checking up on each other and saying how you really doing, how you dealing with life, how you dealing emotionally, because it definitely we are all dealing with something, and sometimes we can hide it well. We put on a nice smile and people never know what we're dealing with inside. And so definitely check up on your friends, your loved ones, your co-workers, and definitely check on that strong friend. Check on that friend that everybody always go to with their problems, because usually that person has nobody to go to, right? Everybody comes to them, but they don't necessarily have someone to call when they're feeling a certain way. So call that person, call that strong friend, and be like, you know what? I don't want to burden you with my problems today. I want to hear what's going on with you. I want to know how you're feeling, how you dealing with, everything else. And so I really want us to get in the habit of that, checking up on our loved ones, having those conversations, really being concerned about our health and our well-being, especially our mental health. So thank you guys very much. You can find me at my website, the deal heal fulfill.org. Again, that's deal heal fulfill.org. That's my main website where you can have me to come out. You can find a little bit about everything that I have going on, as well as book me to come out to be a speaker or to facilitate a workshop at your school or organization. You can also find me on YouTube on the Deal to Heal podcasting network channel. Again, that's Deal to Heal podcasting network on YouTube, where you will find the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, which I am on 100 and some episodes. I had some amazing people on there, so you can find me there. As well as my Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which is another podcast that I'm currently doing. Also, what else? Pretty much everything Deal to Heal with what I got going on right now. Everything is surrounded around my mission, again, which is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. So you can find me doing things around Deal to Heal. One thing I do want to say, right now I am offering an ebook that I wrote called "Forgiving Me: The Four-Step Guide to Self-Forgiveness." Because right now in my space, what I'm finding out is coming up a lot is people are dealing with being able to forgive themselves for mistakes and things that they made in the past. And so I'm offering that ebook absolutely free. You can go to ebooks by ejames.com. Again, that's ebooks by ejames.com to get your free copy of the Forgiving Me ebook. And while you're there, check out some of the other amazing ebooks that I have there, and hopefully purchase one of those as well as receive your free ebook. And I really appreciate that. And last but not least, join me in the Deal Heal Fulfill community. We are a private Facebook page. We over 400 members right now and steadily growing every day. In that community, we're uplifting everyone every day, each other every day. We have a meet the community interview that we do every day, where we introduce the members of the community to the community as a whole, so they get to know us and get to know what we're doing, what we're bringing to the community, and the value that we have and how we can support each other. So you can find me there. Again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Ruth, for having me. I really appreciate being your guest today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing. And I have, uh, as usual, like I said, for those of you that stay to the end, we have a free ebook. I'm going to give you a free ebook copy. And it's actually, you can get it from, if you are on Apple, so you can get it on the Apple Store, it's free. And also, you can, if you are not on Apple, just send me a message and I will send you a code where you can get a copy of this on ebook. But if you want the hard copy, then you need to go to our website, grief2graceinternational.org, or to Amazon and purchase that. And like you can see scrolling, I'm very passionate about the grieving family because I know what I went through when I lost my husband, and I know how much I got help when every little help I got made sense. So I just want you to know that you can actually, in this year, adopt a grieving family. And our Adopt a Grieving Family project, we usually have the grand finale of it most times when we flag it off for the year, April 10, which, but you can start off now and start adopting, find out how you can adopt, and you can find that in our website how you can adopt a grieving family. We have a lot of them in Africa. We have a lot of them here in the United States. I tell you, there are some states here in the United States where we can do a lot. I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was like, "Oh, we keep talking about going to Africa. Where I come from, we are poor." So there are a lot of things that can also be done here. So we are looking at a lot of, and we last year we did a lot. We were able to reach out to over 50 families, and we were able to adopt over 18 families. And this year we are looking at adopting 100 families. So
Mhm.
I know God is definitely going to use you in this journey, because you can adopt. It's very easy adopting them. It means you can just send money to them every month for their upkeep. So you can adopt a family and take charge. You can adopt a child and take charge of their needs, their school needs, and other stuff. You can adopt, and we have a lot of other projects. If you go to the website on how to help, you will see a lot of ways you can help with the healing sound and colors projects for children. Because this year we're going to do a lot with children in grief, and that is coming up in September. So we just have a lot going on. And this year, like I said, if you listen to our broadcast yesterday, we have a lot going on this year. On the 28th of this month is my birthday, and I will be launching 7 books, and we will also be launching our new project which God placed in my heart this year to do. I keep saying it, I'm not the best person to do this project, but I was chosen to do that. So if I was chosen to do it, I will definitely do it. So it's about grief in marriages, and it's about sensuality in marriages, how it's affecting marriages, because we talk about the financial, we talk about so many other stuff. There is that part, especially for Christian women, that is really eating deep into marriages, and people are not talking about it. So God said this year He is going to heal marriages, and one of the ways He's going to heal marriages is to bring back sensuality in marriages. So thank you so much for joining us today. I will not leave without giving us our 3 takeaways, and that is: healing begins with you. When we heal, we inspire change in those around us. Failure is not final, it is the foundation for growth, and purpose can emerge from your pain. And that is why we always say healing is possible. So if you need to talk to somebody about how you want to be healed, then I'm always there, especially when it comes to issues that have to do with grief to grace. It is free. Talk to me and I'll give you resources on how you can. And if you think you need someone that needs to talk to people or something, do something with you, we are there to just help out. Join our community, join Trashy Tribe. Starting February 1, Trashy Tribe is going to go back live and be sharing. So it's going to be a platform where you can drop everything. Just trash it. Whatever your issues out, you have a bad day, just go in there and trash it, and you will be so glad that you did. And on the 22nd of the month, every 22nd, like we said, we have a serenade of worship and praise. So always hook up on Grief to Grace and all of our platforms, Ruth Epsiba, whichever one you click to, you definitely see us there. And because this season we are intentional about God. So I just want you to know that we love you. Don't forget to like, share all that we're doing. Share, let people know about Grief to Grace. We have Grief to Grace podcast has been split into a lot right now. We have Grief to Grace stories, Grief to Grace reflections, Grief to Grace moments. We have just a lot going on. And I tell you, one of these days, Grief to Grace may be in your community. So just stay tuned right now and you will continue to hear about all that God have in stock for us in this year. And I will not leave without giving you this last step, which is our Bible verse for today. It is usually this Bible verse lifts me up and I like sharing it. And that is Psalm 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and he saves those who are crushed in spirit. So I don't know what you're going through right now. Just know that the Lord is so close to you. He's like a brother to you. He's just very close. Rather, if you don't have anybody to talk to God. Share your story. Give him a seat. Tell him to sit down and tell him all that you're going through. And he will definitely respond to that. So thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited. I'm so glad. And if you send, I don't know, did you send me the link? I'm going to add them in the bio so people can see them in the description, and we will be able. I was trying to look out for the link, I can find it, but I'm going to add it up in the description. So I hope that everyone will be able to go and get to know more and reach out, especially join the community. Then you'll be able to reach out and get more from the community. So thank you so much for, okay, I have the link here to the ebooks, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, the ebook and the website. So let me just quickly drop it as the last thing I'm going to do right now. So then we will be good to go. So this is the, okay, 1 minute. So this is the link. If you need to reach out for speaking engagements and other stuff, you can reach out to Ernest right here. It's showing right there on the screen, and I'm also going to put it up in the description. It says um, ebook by ejames.com,
Mhm.
and also deal, heal, and fulfill.org, and deal to heal teas.com. So thank you so much for joining us today. And
Thank
thank
you.
you all of you that have been with us. I can see a lot of persons that joined us in this live. And I just want to say thank you for always being there. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for all that you guys are doing. And I know that God will continue to bless us. And I'm just saying that we have some comments. I'm definitely going to respond to them later. Okay. Okay. So thank you, and God bless you. Have a very great day. Bye.
Bye bye.